The Kansas City Chiefs and Detroit Lions meet today here at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. And Shawn Barber, the connections between these two teams run deep. If you want to go all the way back to 2014, the Detroit Tigers selected quarterback Patrick Mahomes in the 37th round of the Major League Baseball draft. And luckily for all of us, Mahomes loved football too much. He wanted to go to Texas Tech and play football, and now comes to Ford Field, comes to Detroit as the reigning MVP and a guy that keeps setting records every single week.
Well, that just proves for any scout, no matter what league you're talking about, it was easy to point out that Mahomes had a major league arm. He had a cannon not only on the baseball diamond, but obviously on the football field.
Yeah, and the Chiefs will be looking for their first victory here. They're actually 0-2 here at Ford Field. These two teams last met over across the pond in London at Wembley Stadium. Chiefs won that game 45-10, but there's been a lot of changes for both these teams going into that one. Another little nugget to know, Andy Reid, 4-1 in his career against the Lions, and he'll be coaching his 100th career game for the Kansas City Chiefs here today against the Lions.
Not many coaches can say they've won 100 games against anybody, but Coach Andy Reid has been one of the most knowledgeable coaches, been able to string together win after win, no matter what the venue, no matter what the conditions, the environment. All he knows, he has his team ready to win today.
Yeah, and both these teams are starting off this season strong. They're two of the 8 remaining unbeaten teams in the NFL. And as much as we know of this game and how much it means to the Chiefs looking to go 4-0 for, I believe, the 3rd straight season, it also means a lot to the Lions, who started 2-0-1. They tied the Cardinals in that first week, and then they beat the Eagles and the Chargers. And you look at that NFC North division right now, as a whole, that division is 9-3-1. All 4 teams have winning records. So when you're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, we know we're going to take everybody's best shot, but this is a measuring stick game for a lot of teams. You know the Lions are fired up for this one.
Yeah, we look at that Lions versus Cardinals game. One thing we realize is the Cardinals fought their way back in it the second half.
Yep.
So this Lions team probably doesn't have that killer instinct to put you down when they have you down, finish off the game once they have you down. And then the other 2 games, it was a turnover, a crucial turnover in a key part of the end of the game, which allowed the Lions a chance to kind of recapture the win at the end of those games. So they haven't had the spectacular wins like we've had in Kansas City, but they're still proven to be a good team.
Yeah, 2 wins by a total of 6 points. They're used to close games, and we're going to break it all down. Shawn and I are going to go through some of our top storylines, and a little bit later we're going to hear from Frank Clark, who caught up with Matt McMullen earlier this week, and then Mitch Holtis and Kendall Gammon are going to help break this one down as well. But when we talk about this matchup today, you've got to talk about injuries as we go into the 4th week of the season. There are some key ones for both sides. Now, the Chiefs have been able to make up for the fact that they haven't had Eric Fisher, they haven't had Tyreek Hill or Damian Williams, and they keep on running. But the Lions have a challenge today, particularly on the defensive side. I know there was reports coming into this game about Matthew Stafford. He is going to give it a go. Seems like he's going to be in some pain, according to Adam Schefter, with the report he put out about his hip, his back. But Stafford is going to give it a go. But one guy who is officially inactive in this game is Pro Bowl cornerback Darius Slay. It's not good to not have your best defensive back going up against Mahomes.
Especially going on against a gunslinger like Mahomes. Not having your defensive lead on the secondary is probably the worst-case scenario for them. Stafford being a little bit injured, he has enough arm talent to be able to overcome that. He's not a quarterback that needs to step into every throw. He doesn't need a solid pocket to make a delivery. And he's been able to throw out so many different arm slots and still be very, very productive. So that injury is not going to play as big of a part as stopping, being a hiccup for their Lions offense, as one would think. But overall, I think the Chiefs' inactives and the Chiefs' depth in every position is what allowed that Chiefs Kingdom team to continue to go no matter who is hurt, who's banged up. It just seems like we keep seeing the Chiefs evolve, a new person, somebody else steps up, next man up mentality.
Yeah, and the other 2 guys to keep in mind that are out for the Lions, they aren't starters, but as we get into this game, it's going to be important. Mike Daniels, their defensive tackle, is not going to go in this game, and neither is Deshaun Hand. Another inactive guy, another interior defensive line for him. So they have Damon Harrison, they have Ashawn Robinson, which is the strength of that defense, really, those 2 guys in the middle that help stop the run. But when you get into rotating guys in depth and you don't get those guys, whether those guys end up getting more snaps or you've got unproven guys who haven't got a lot of run, they're going to get in there and try to stop them, which will take us to the first point to watch in this game is the Chiefs' running game and LaShawn McCoy. We know he battled it out last week, was able to provide a spark for the offense, but you're missing a couple of your depth on defensive line, and you know LaShawn McCoy is going to get going on this turf. What do you see in that matchup today?
Our offense is #1 in the league of making defenses cover every inch of the field, right? It's 53 1/3 yards width of the field. You have to make sure you cover the whole thing. Defensive linemen have to be in shape. They make you run sideline to sideline. And when you don't have that depth that we talked about on your defensive line, especially those defensive tackles in the middle, then you start to run down, you start run weary, and that's when those opening gaping holes open up for one LaShawn McCoy to run through. So I think the lack of depth in their defensive line is one of the things that probably you won't see it a glaring. You won't see it kind of show its hand at the first quarter, but definitely in the second half as this game goes further and further on.
Yeah, and we'll see that, and we know LaShawn McCoy throughout his career has always been doing it, always picking up yards, leads the NFL since 2009 in rushing yards and yards from scrimmage. This guy who keeps getting it done, and Andy Reid has talked about that. All the guys have talked about it all week. And we saw the Chiefs running game last week have a bounce-back game against the Ravens. Coming off the game against the Raiders, the Chiefs had like 30, 40 yards rushing, and people were questioning, saying, how are they going to do against the Ravens team that was #1 in the league in rushing? They had given up 40 total yards rushing in 2 games. The Chiefs went out, put up 140 yards. It was LaShawn McCoy, and then Darrell Williams, another guy who stepped up and made some plays.
Stats. Everybody wants to know where you rank against the run, but the game scenario, that's the one thing Andy's been able to do. No matter what the game scenario is, he's been able to effectively pass the ball all over the field to all the different quadrants and make you not only defend horizontally, but also defend vertically. And that opened up so many rushing lanes for late in the game versus the Baltimore Ravens.
And we can't forget about the screen game. 2 of the most important plays from that game last week. The screen touchdown to LaShawn McCoy was a perfect play call. They brought 6. They brought the house. It was a perfect play call for that situation. And you can't forget the 3rd and 9 screen to Darrell Williams that iced the game at the end. And Austin Ryder had a nice pancake block on that one. Got to give some love to the guys in the trenches, getting it done out on the edge. But we go to this one. Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. We knew we were going to do this at some point. But the guy keeps making plays, and you go into this game, he's looking to set more NFL records. If he has 363 yards passing, he's going to have the most passing yards through 4 weeks in NFL history. And if he can have 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions again, he'll be the first quarterback in NFL history to do that in 4 straight games to open up a season.
I think Pat will be the first to tell you, the only thing he's really concerned about is the dub, right? He wants to win first and foremost. But those yardage, those records, at some point they start to, play in your mind a little bit. I definitely think early and often with our offense, without a Darius Slay on defense, you want to definitely attack the secondary of the Lions. And with that being played, we might see those records being broke early in the second half.
It's not the only record. McCole Hardman said earlier this week that he's expecting to be the fastest player in NFL history out on a field. Now they got the next-gen stats. They've got the miles per hour, how fast they're going. He expects himself, if he gets loose on one, to break that record and get close, he said, to 23 miles an hour.
That's amazing.
Which people have barely gotten up to 22. I don't think anyone's hit 22 yet, so that's pretty amazing to think that he might be able to do that. Now let's switch sides of the ball real fast and talk about what the Lions have, because as much as we talk about this Chiefs offense and what they can do, the Lions have some playmakers on that side, starting with those 2 guys on the outside, and Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones Jr.
Yeah, they got those 2 plus Amendola, right? So those the triple threat they have as the wide receiver core, and then you add in that 4th element with T.J. Hockenson. That's 4 guys that can spread you and make you defend the passing game no matter what the down and distance. A tough running back like Kerryon Johnson to add to that. Offensively, they have a team that you have to definitely defend equally against the run and pass. All of their receivers can high point. All of them are great athletes. They create one-on-one matchups down the sideline, and it's going to be a challenge for our corners to really step up and be able to high point the ball, knock those balls away on 3rd down and longs. But then it comes to a moment where you have to play really tough football first and second down. We got to create the 3rd and longs so our defense can get hungry, get after it, and then starts playing in Coach Spags his bag of tricks. Let that defensive rush get after him.
Yeah, we'll see how much attention Frank Clark gets. That's been a storyline through the first 3 weeks. Always getting chips. He's always getting double teams and all those different things, jump sets, and then the guard comes over and helps out. So it'll be interesting to see how the Lions try to attack that. And then I think you mentioned the guy, T.J. Hockenson, is going to be the one to watch. Danny Amendola is dealing with the injury. He's actually not playing today. He's inactive. So this could be one of those games where you see T.J. Hockenson become a much bigger part of the offense. So that's a great point right there. And then the other thing, when you talk about the Lions offense and any offense going up against the Chiefs currently still on track right now. They have the NFL record. They have 21 straight games of at least 26 points scored. Ooh. So no matter what you do when you're going up, what you try to do defensively, you know you're going to have to put up points against this Chiefs offense. And for the Chiefs defense. They did a good job last week against Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, the two playmakers for the Ravens. And they've got another tough task. Steve Spagnuolo and Coach Reed said it earlier this week that this will be the toughest group of offensive skill guys they've gone against with Matthew Stafford at quarterback. But right now we are going to throw it to Mitch Holthus and Kendall Gammon. We're going to continue to break this down and talk about playing through the whistle and taking away those takeaways that have been so important to the Lions so far.
We hope you're enjoying the Detroit Lions fight song and all of the party going on here. But it's interesting because all these fans and everybody else, Chiefs have to play to the whistle in this game, Kendall. The Lions are 2-on-1 in my opinion because they were able to hack the ball at a key time at the very end of a play against both the Chargers and the Eagles.
Yeah, and you look in those 2 wins, 4 of the 5 turnovers that they've created this year have come in those wins. So that's been paramount, and they've scored off the turnover also. So that's a big deal. So ball security today, it's paramount. Really, if the Chiefs, in my mind, if they hold on to the ball and none of that happens, it's hard to see them not coming away with a win today.
But it's going to be a test of discipline for guys like Darrell Williams, who was so great last week, or Darwin Thompson, who's going to get some time today. You don't worry about Shady McCoy, or a McCole Hardman. After a 25-yard pass, I'll give Matt Patricia credit. He's trying to change the culture here. They've never been to the Super Bowl. The only team that hasn't been in the Super Bowl era. I haven't been to the playoffs since haven't won a playoff game since '91. But changing the culture, you can kind of sense that here that he's working on it.
Yeah, well, they're one of the 8 unbeaten teams right now in the league, and this city in Detroit, they are all in. And the one thing that you notice when you come into this dome today is how everything reverbs. And you talked about playing to the whistle and being disciplined. Our left tackle and our right tackle are going to have to be disciplined because they're not going to hear the snap count today. There's going to be silent counts. And Trey Flowers doesn't need any help. So you've got to make sure and take care of that issue. And certainly with Cam Irving playing for the injured Eric Fisher for a second week in a row. So I think that's something that's going to be worth watching as well.
Don't forget Trey Flowers. He had one of the most important plays in the AFC Championship game we've all forgotten about. A 14-yard sack of Mahomes that took the Chiefs out of scoring position right at the end of the half when it was 7-0 Patriots. All right, let's go to flip it to the other side. And with the Lions, where their danger is on offense. Matthew Stafford now, we've been seeing for the last 48 hours some back issues flaring back up for him. But what about the Lions' ability to attack deep third, especially numbers to boundary?
Well, the fact is Stafford can make all the throws. They've got a very unspectacular in name-wise receivers, but they are capable. Tight end-wise, you got Jesse James. You got the tight end out of the first-round pick out of Iowa. Yeah, thank you so much. And, those guys can hurt you. I think you've got to get pressure on Matt Stafford. I think the tackles are key today for Detroit because when you look at them, Mitch, they've given up their 3 sacks, and they've also given up 20 pressures. Now, they haven't given up a sack in the last 2 weeks, and that's a record for Detroit. But a lot of that has to do with the sneaky agility of Matt Stafford. He's sneaky athletic in my mind, and he does a good job. But to me, if you can get the pass rush from the edges and come up the middle with Chris Jones, Derek Nottie, Cullen, that will make a big deal.
Yeah, and the run game for the Lions, a little bit like the Chiefs. There's not eye-popping numbers, but it's also dangerous, and it's always there. Kerryon Johnson is one of the more underrated running backs. Again, a little bit like those Ravens backs, some power with him and some ability.
Yeah, kind of a downhill runner. He looks for that open spot, and when he does, he plants his outside foot and he gets north and south, and they're just trying to get those yards. Certainly they want to get as much as they can because when you look at this defense of Kansas City, why wouldn't you try to run against them? They're giving up more than 6 yards a carry, so that's probably job number 1 for the Chiefs' defense today.
Yeah, bottom of the league in 4+ runs allowed on first down and overall. Now, you made most of your money in this league for 15 years in special teams. The Lions, Jamal Agnew, he gets your attention. You get a 100-yard return against the Eagles on the road, that gets your attention. I know you talked to Dave Tobe this week, but the special teams here, even if you just neutralize this Lions team, it'll be big.
Yeah, it really would. I mean, you talked about the return last week. Of course, he was atoning for a couple fumbles earlier on in the punt, but he had a 24-yard punt return as well. When you look at the defense of Detroit, they have 13 defensive backs. And while that's big on pass coverage, it's even bigger on special teams because you've got athletes back there that make a difference.
The other thing is just getting rid of bad memories. 30 seconds here, but the Chiefs have not won here since 1996. It's time for Patrick Mahomes to do his own little Motown magic.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's special. It's going to be fun to watch and see how he performs today. And again, he's got a little bit of an issue with the sound, but I look forward to seeing how they handle that today.
Chiefs, the only team in the NFL that's played 4 unbeaten teams in the first 4 weeks of the season.
Mitch Kendall, great stuff. Not a huge surprise. But right now, we're going to throw it to Chiefs reporter Matt McMullen, who earlier this week caught up with Chiefs defensive end Frank Clark to talk about what he's seen from this Chiefs defense so far this year and the task they have to try and slow down Lions running back Kerryon Johnson today.
Thanks, BJ. Well, Frank, got your first sack as a Chief last week. Tyrann Mathieu had 3 pass breakups. Emmanuel Ogbah had a huge game. His defense has been showing flashes so far. Just how would you evaluate your guys' collective performance so far as a group through 3 games?
I feel like, we've been doing some things on defense to help us, our football team win some games. But at the end of the day, as a defense, you pride yourself on stopping the run. You pride yourself on getting off the field on third downs and eliminating the big plays. And those are some things that we haven't been able to do like we wanted to, this season, to start the season off. Thank God, it's just a quarter of the season, coming up with the end of, this week's game. But, so that means, we got, another 3 quarters through the season to finish our objective, which is to, work towards being one of those, good run-stopping defense and, getting off the field on third downs.
That process continues this week against the Lions. How do you take the good things that you guys have done so far and carry that into this week's game against Detroit?
You just keep building. You build on your success, and then you build on, your failures as well. You have things not go your way in the game for a reason, just so you can come back to practice and work on them. If things went perfect, you wouldn't have practice. You wouldn't have things you have to watch. You wouldn't have film. You have to study. So at the end of the day, we got an opponent in, Detroit Lions and, a veteran quarterback in Matthew Stafford who's going to force that ball down the field. He's going to try to make some big plays, and, it's our job to eliminate that. They got a good running back in Kerryon Johnson. Had a great year, had a career year last year. I believe he averaged 5.8 yards per carry. That was third on their list of all-time rushing per carries, right behind Barry Sanders and I forgot who else. But he just, like I said, it just hats off to those guys. They haven't given up a sack in the last 2 games, so I'm sure they want to keep that going on. And what better team to do it against than this high-powered Chiefs team. So.
You mentioned it briefly, the run. The pass rush really starts with stopping the run. When you're looking at that Lions team, what stands out in the running game?
The one thing that stands out is, like I said, that running back. He's a young guy, but the way he runs the ball, he runs kind of high, but, it's kind of like that Adrian Peterson style. I'm not going to say he's Adrian Peterson, but it's just the running style. You see it across the league where these guys run high, and you think, we can attack him, we can hit him, but, a guy like him, he uses agility, he uses athleticism. You see him spinning off of a lot of tackles. You see him bouncing off a lot of tackles and getting a lot of yards after contact.
Frank, appreciate your time. Good luck on Sunday. BJ, back to you.
Matt, that is good stuff with Frank Clark. We were just talking about this earlier. Right now, Kerryon Johnson's averaging 2.6 yards per carry, but you can't let those numbers deceive you. This guy can make plays, and he is a load to bring down if he gets to the second level of a defense.
Yeah, starting the season, Kerryon Johnson was one of the top 10 running backs going into most, fantasy leagues and stuff like that. So you thought he would have a better day. I think that the disappointing part is up front. The offensive line just hasn't opened up many lanes for him to rush. He's getting hit in the backfield a lot, so it's tough for a running back to make those type of moves. Barry Sanders, he isn't, and so Barry Sanders, he isn't, and so he does need some help from the offensive line to really open some lanes.
Yeah, and right now we are going to break down a little bit of what we've seen from the AFC West. 2 weeks in a row, the Chiefs win, everybody else loses. So if that's going to happen again, it's going to be because of these next 3 games, one of which I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll get into that here in a minute. First one, Oakland Raiders are traveling and taking on the Indianapolis Colts. What do you like about that matchup?
Man, I think what the Colts right now kind of they got one arm kind of behind their back.
Yep.
T.Y. Hilton's doubtful. No Darius Leonard. No Malik Hooker. So the defense is going to be undermanned. I think if there's a game where the Raiders get back on track, Derek Carr, Williams, and Walker, it's probably going to be today at the Colts. I got the Raiders winning that game.
Okay. Man, if you have the AFC West team and winning the next one, it's not going to be a huge surprise. But that is an interesting one, and Chiefs fans can keep an eye on that as the Chiefs take on the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday Night Football next week. So if you are in between commercial breaks, you just want to keep an eye on another game, that's an important one. The other one, the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to take on the Miami Dolphins. Do you think the Chargers can get back on track against this Dolphins team?
Everybody has the Dolphins being down but me. I think this is when the Dolphins, they have their back against the wall. And every great athlete, when your back is against the wall, you come out fighting. I think they'll fight for Flores this game. I think the Chargers, with Justin Jackson being down, having Melvin Gordon coming back, I don't think he's game ready, but he's gonna play a role in the game. And I think with the receiver Williams being gone is going to be something where Rivers going to have to work with. So I don't think the Chargers going to be at 100%. I think the Dolphins going to fight. I got the Dolphins upsetting the Chargers today.
I love it. We actually had this discussion yesterday. I'm not entirely surprised because there's going to be a couple of times this season where Josh Rosen reminds everybody why he was a first-round pick. It might not be consistent. It might not be the whole time. But there are going to be a couple of games where we see the good Josh Rosen. He goes out there and makes plays. I'm just hoping it's today. I'm hoping today is the day. And then to round out the AFC West, the Jaguars are traveling to take on the Broncos, who Emmanuel Sanders had the quote, they're living in a world of suck right now. Can they figure it out against Gardner Minshew and the Jaguars?
I don't think so. I think the Jaguars, Saxonville, Sac City travels well. I think they're going to go up to Denver, and that defense looks like it's going on all cylinders. I think with or without Jalen Ramsey at practice, he's a top cover corner. He's going to give Cortland Sutton or Emmanuel Sanders a nightmare. Their defense is going to play a big part and allow their offense to kind of get rolling.
All right, now let's go around to some other key games around the rest of the NFL. And, Sean, right now, the fun one that you and I have been talking about, the Minnesota Vikings at Chicago Bears. I know you like the Vikings. Why do you like the Vikings today?
One reason only, Dalvin, my man Cook.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook has looked like a beast. He looked like AP at his prime coming out that backfield, making people miss. I think he's leading the league maybe this year in missed tackles, forcing missed tackles. He's just an A-bomb ready to happen, man. Dalvin Cook is unstoppable.
And so we have a little side wager on this game. And what I didn't know going into this one is that Akeem Hicks is inactive. He's not going to play in that game today, which I did not know, and I'm taking the Bears in that one. But we've got the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. It just seems like the drama and the headlines seem to follow the Cleveland Browns, and even Antonio Brown got involved with Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield. It just became this whole thing. What do you like about that matchup?
I said it a week ago. In Cleveland, it's building. The meltdown will happen today as they lose to the Ravens. Baker Mayfield, 5 interceptions, second overall, second most interceptions by any quarterback in the league. He's always staring down his receivers. Defenses love that. We prey on that. And he hasn't been able to be humble enough to realize that's what he's doing and correct it. So Baker continues to be Baker. And I think this is the beginning of the end for the Browns.
It's going to be a tough matchup for the Browns because coming off that last game, all the national analysts were saying they needed Baker to stand in the pocket and deliver the ball down the field. He just seems to be leaving the pocket, trying to make crazy plays all the time. And you know that Baltimore Ravens defense, especially coming off the game against us, they are going to get after him as a guy that likes to talk a little bit. That's not going to keep them from pinning their ears back and trying to get as much pressure as they absolutely can. And then finally, one of the favorite matchups of the day, because it includes the other two teams that are undefeated in the AFC. You have the New England Patriots going to Bills Mafia to take on the Buffalo Bills, one of the biggest games in recent memory for the Bills. This is a team that seems to be getting better.
Well, Sean McDermott is one of the coaches that comes from Andy Reid's coaching tree. He coaches a style that's faith, family football. I like Sean McDermott as a person, but I love him as a head coach. He's kind of rerouted and really turned that roster over, making some big adjustments a season ago that people didn't agree with. But now he has a team fighting hard, fighting the way you're supposed to be fighting for each other. And I think that Bills team has a chance to beat the Patriots. I'm taking the Bills at home versus the GOAT.
Yeah, and I think that this needs to be said because there's been a lot made. Chiefs fans always use like a punchline because we got to trade up with the Buffalo Bills and we got Patrick Mahomes, and thank you for that. The Bills traded back and got Tre'Davious White, the cornerback, and it's not Patrick Mahomes, but Tre'Davious White's been a phenomenal football player. So for them to trade back and get that kind of a cornerback, that guy who can make plays, was huge for them. And now we're going to move into, Sean, I know your favorite segment of the show because this guy is a fantasy football aficionado. And we've got a new segment. We're going to call it Sean's Baller Move of the Week.
Baby.
Something other people might not be thinking about, but you're going to be thinking about it because he's about to tell you about it right now. What is it this week?
Everybody, if you have a chance, you want to pick up one Ben Watson.
Yep.
Right now, he's under suspension, so you haven't seen a lot of activity on him. But get to him a week early. Don't wait until he's active next week and you have to use a waiver wire claim. Get to him now while he's a free agent. Add him to your roster, and then you'll reap rewards next week as that tight end being a part of the New England Patriots offense. That's going to be a highly coveted tight end position.
Absolutely. Anybody who's in that offense, just like the Chiefs offense, is going to put up fantasy points. Now we'll go into your sleepers of the week. First one, wide receiver DK Metcalf. Why do you like him today?
Averaging almost 25 yards a game, 25 yards a catch maybe, 7 to 8 targets a game. the Seattle Seahawks are going against a porous Cardinals defense that gave up 4 touchdowns to the Carolina Panthers quarterback last week. So I think DJ Metcalf being opposite Tyler Lockett, the defense is definitely going to shade the Lockett side. So DJ Metcalf, a one-on-one matchup can be fantasy gold this week.
Now, I know why Wayne Gallman is on here, the Giants running back, because Saquon Barkley's out with the injury. I know why you have him on here, because somebody's got to get those carries. But what do you like about Gallman's game?
I like that the Giants are going against the Washington Redskins. I think the Redskins are maybe the number 2 team that might be pressing the panic button and about to explode. So I think that team is about to kind of let their coach go. I don't think they really believe in Gruden right now, and so it's just from a front office standpoint, the Redskins are messes waiting to happen.
All right, there you have it, some fantasy football advice. And right now we are getting ready for the kickoff here in about 15-20 minutes as the Chiefs look to remain one of the only unbeaten teams in the AFC. And like I said, with the Bills and Patriots going, one of them's got to, I guess they could tie, but one of them's probably going to lose. So the Chiefs could end up being one of only 2 remaining undefeated teams in the AFC. Now, Shawn, before we let everybody go, what are your final thoughts on this one?
Hey, the Chiefs have an opportunity to end up the first quarter being undefeated. 4-0 ending up that first 4-game stretch with the Indianapolis Colts, the Texans, a Thursday night game versus Denver, and then versus the Packers.
Yep.
If we can go into that second quarter of games with an undefeated record, it puts us a step ahead of the game.
Absolutely. You will find the game today. It will be on Fox as Kevin Burkhardt, Charles Davis, and Pam Oliver will be on the call. And then after the game, make sure to tune into Chiefs Rewind with Shawn Barber and Mitch Holtis. They'll break it all down, have all the press conferences, everything you guys need. Besides that, have a great time watching this one, and we'll see you after the game, Chiefs Kingdom.